What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. And if you didn't watch it, I want you to watch yesterday's video. The video was about, it was about Big Clan. It was about Inferno CT side. It was about how to understand what it means to play Banana well. How to understand the map, all right? Underrated video right here. 3.5K views. Unacceptable. First video back in the new studio. And it's got no love. Okay, watch this video. It's really good. This one was about how Big Clan came back and won an additional 5 rounds compared to their 14-1 down half in versus Vitality in the rematch. Watch that. All right, that's a banger. So today we're gonna do a Patreon video. It's been a while. I wanted to wait until I got back to the official office. Okay. You noticed at the end of those last few videos when I was in Copenhagen, I was worn down. You know, I was way more tired than I even realized. I think part of that was being in Sweden and eating Max Burger for 5 days in a row, 6 days in a row. Some days 2 burgers, spicy chicken burger, Max. Oof! Don't put me back there. Don't let me go back to that place. I love those burgers. The other thing, drinking 2 energy drinks a day to get me through the days, especially those days it was like travel and cast on the same day. I think 21 days in a row, I think I had 2 energy drinks in a day. Not good, not good. So that probably caught up with me. Hotel, staying in a place, in a different place that's not home. All of us, me, Scrawny, Banks, came back to our respective homes and slept 13 hours each. We all have a tweet. We all slept 13 hours each separately. We didn't try to organize this together. So we got at a lot of tiredness all at once when we got back. So it was just a huge buildup. Yeah, so I uploaded this video late yesterday, so it wasn't a great time. The video schedule is changing, of course, where I'm in NA now, so everything's going to be late no matter how early I do it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch the video, okay? Just because you didn't see it right when it came out, you should go watch it. I'm gonna upload this video, and I'm just gonna be looking at the last video and see the numbers going up. Okay, so today we are going to be doing a demo review for Jamlex. Jamlex, what up, man? Jamlex has been all over Twitter, and I love his story. So first, before we do that, I have been beckoned upon to check out my CSGO 2020 in review. Okay, for Leadify. We've worked with Leadify for a few videos. They said, hey, would you be interested in featuring this in your video? And I said, sure, of course. So this is sponsored content. But Leadify is something that I already use. I told you all the time. It's a free tool as well, and it is a way to help you improve. You can check it out for really cool stats, and you can see the other 2 videos that I've done with Leadify already. One, my aim training routine, which I'm going to reference in this video with Jamlex, and a follow-up video on one of their tools, Map Zone Performance tool. So this is going to be a funny one. So let's take a look at this. I had like a period of time in the middle of the year, in between Blast Spring and Blast Fall, where I played every day for many hours and grinded it out. So I had 100 matches played this year, which is kind of a low amount, right? Hours played, 67 hours. So this counts any hours that I had in FACEIT games or matchmaking games. I'm at a 51% win rate, so perpetually, but slowly ranking up with an A- grade ADR. Not bad, not terrible. In July is where I really went hard. 51 matches played in July. This was the full grind. I was doing my aim routine for like an hour every day and playing a ton. And out of this whole year, these are the only 3 months that I played. So on either side of this, I was casting Blast Spring Series, DreamHack, Spring, Blast, Showdown, all of these things. And then I started playing June, July, August before I had to leave. September is when I threw out my back, so I couldn't play even though I was at home. I messed my back up. I still have an impinged nerve in my back, but I got a foam roller. So that's going to be hopefully sorted out soon. It's like a pain where if I push on my back, I can feel it all the way through my legs. Very weird. And I haven't worked out in like 2 months. The entire time I was there, it just never went away. So I'm going to try to attack that and fix that. But anyways, that was September. I couldn't even sit down. I had to fly business class. I had to ask Blast for a business class flight to get over to Copenhagen. October, November, December, I didn't play any games. I was uploading every day, casting every single day. So I got all of my playtime out here, which is kind of funny to look at. And these are some of the subs that I played a lot with. Joe, Benny, Chewy, Piano Man. My rank progression, I mean, it's a good high average, you know? Not easy in NA. NA level 10, Europe level 4, as they say. ELO just stayed afloat. And yeah, this is basically in these months where I stood. Obviously, relative to the other months, of course, it doesn't really matter because there wasn't any playtime. Okay, I definitely threw some mollies. I played banana sometimes. There had to be mollies thrown. And Mirage, one of the best maps in the pool. Okay, don't believe the haters. Mirage is a good map, and I played it a lot. I also won it a lot. Very good at Mirage. Vertigo, hate this map. Okay, I actually love Nuke. Nuke is my favorite map, so this is a problem. I actually need to fix that. I didn't realize that was so low. It's because of my teammates, obviously. No one knows how to play Nuke except for me. All right, so that was my 2020 highlights for Leadify, and as usual, I recommend using Leadify. They're a company I'm happy to work with for sponsored content because I use Leadify anyway, and it's super fun to be able to look at your stats and see very interesting stats. I'm sorry, there's someone vacuuming in my hallway right now, so I'm not going to restart this. So hopefully that's over with soon. So before we continue on with this week, okay, because this week now I want it to be Inferno week. Also, just want to shout out this video that was made. Really good video here. Okay, I went in Twitch stream for a second. Oh, that's actually a shout. I got to make sure that I'm on the right sound settings. I have my wireless headphones. I have my wireless headphones. I have my Focusrite headphones. And I have an additional player, my broadcaster headset, that I stole from Blast.
Another day, another demo. Another day, another...
Just the first thing he said when I came into the stream. Of course, didn't expect that. And then shout out to Motions for this one.
The line, Bart!
Was popular YouTube, another day, another demo. Yeah! And for the punishment for making this video, we're going to be doing Inferno week as punishment, okay? Because I've got a big CSGO boner for Inferno and how to play CT side, and it's my least favorite and favorite thing to talk about all at the same time. So I, in this video, talk about, you know, what Big did better compared to their last game where they got 14-1 on their CT side by Vitality a few days before. And in this video, they got 5 rounds more, which I consider a marked improvement. And I talked about why. And so tomorrow's video, I think, will be big in the 14-1 to just show me tilting over why they played so badly versus Vitality. I casted both these matches. And then I want to do Liquid because they had a good CT side on Inferno recently. And then as a further punishment, I might find another Inferno game. Oh, Gambit versus Astralis, to talk about Gambit as an up-and-coming team and how they played really well on Inferno, but then beat themselves when they got scared. That's going to be a really great one coming up this week as well. But before all that, we got to go ahead and do this Patreon video for Jamlex. Thank you for being so patient, Jamlex. This one was a long time coming. It was submitted on November 29th, but I wasn't in a position to upload a really high quality video, and I wanted to make sure we got back to the studio before we did that. And we're back. And I don't want any comments about my hair. Okay, I'm gonna cut it tomorrow, so you get to judge me. I don't have to rely on any other barbers. I ordered a pair of clippers, and I'm gonna cut my hair tomorrow myself. So, okay, this is from Jamlex. He provided a lot of context, which was fantastic. I'm a big fan of his story. So he says, "Hey launders, I'm 18 from Ireland, and I feel like it's essential to go into my backstory on video games. I've always been super competitive in shooters, although still not being the best. I maintained a decent above average level at everything I played. But I always wanted to be the best. I played Fortnite for about 3 years, then dabbled outside of it every so often until VALORANT came out. I never really played anything quite like VALORANT or CSGO. I mained VALORANT for a couple weeks and enjoyed myself. My friends made a comeback to gaming and persuaded me to try CSGO. I was addicted. It was such an intricate game with plenty of different aspects to master. The game's complexity and so many fields to master are what draws me to the game more and more. I haven't felt this passionately about a video game or anything in years. Love to hear it. I played just for under 2 months, probably 6 to 7 weeks with only 250 hours on the game. So not much time at all. I'm currently at Master Guardian Elite. I watch pro games daily. I also love to watch educational videos such as Vu, Mahone TV, and yourself. All great channels, especially the third one. I feel knowledge is super valuable in Counter-Strike, hence why I'm paying for this review. I have started to aim train again in the past 3 days. I have a warm-up routine in aim labs, and then 10-15 minutes aim bots, and then some headshot DM until I feel confident enough. That sounds really good, especially if you're going to play a lot that day. Just something simple to start the day off is awesome. Most of your aim training comes within the game. And then before that, it's mainly a warm-up just until you're comfortable. I generally play at least 2 games a day to stay consistent. I know there's a lot to improve on, and some may only come with time, but I think my improvement since I started has been exponential, which motivates me even more. I love playing aggressive, and I want to be a confident entry fragger. Okay, awesome. So that's something we're going to focus on for this. I believe I can reach Global Elite in due time, although my goal is to reach LEM within the next 2 months. I think it's entirely possible. You'd have to, you would have to continually grow at an exponential rate. But I have already, pre-watched the demo and taken some notes. So I can already see it's not that you don't have the tools. So we're going to try to help you give you the right mindset for coming into fixing your issues and how to improve. But you do have the tools. I believe I can reach Global Elite in due time. Oh, sorry. I already read that. I need to work on fixing some game sense and perfect spray controls. That also just comes with time. A few minutes to learn, a lifetime to master, that kind of thing. Also, I tend to sometimes spray instantly rather than tapping, and I rarely burst fire. So I'm going to talk about some shooting techniques and how to build those habits as well. I am practicing counter strafing. I think I am decently well-rounded, but I need to improve and iron out some imperfections and bad habits. When playing with my friends who are around MG1 to MG2, I do the calling on strats, and on defaults we tend to run. I tend to keep a much more level head. Strat calling is difficult when some people still struggle with callouts, since we are still pretty new to the game, which is one issue we know we have and are trying to address. I've sent you a game on Train, which is one of the better maps, 74% win rate in 31 games, where I think I played at my skill on an average day. I love that perfectly. Like a nice, humble demo, basically. Not something that's a frag movie where the other team sucked. Something that you just felt like was just like pretty decent level. That's perfect. It'll make the demo much more full of, it'll give me way more things to talk about. We are 5 stacking, trying to calm, because it's not about raising your ceiling, right? Everyone who plays games, they've seen themselves on their best day. We're all trying to chase that. It's about raising the floor. So your worst day becomes good enough that you can never go below a rank. If your worst day is solved, the best days will come. So we are 5 stacking, trying to calm as much as possible, do some new lineups, and give constructive criticism. There's actually a lot of stuff that I saw you guys were doing that kind of resembled what you would see in a pro match, which is great. There's just some stuff that was missing that we'll talk about as we go. If you could watch my POV and give you a brutally honest review of some aspects, absolutely. I could do better and notice my mistakes. I feel like I do a coach's job correcting errors I see, but there isn't always someone to correct me. Awesome. I love the self-awareness and kind of the humble attitude that comes across in this. So your own input would be very beneficial. Also, on a side note, I have the best peripherals and everything I need. So everything I need to work on is entirely down to myself and how I can push my current capabilities. Fantastic. If you are still casting in Denmark, okay. And then I plugged into settings, load up the demo, and that's that. So that was a lot of stuff, but it was all really, really helpful. And I am super happy that this kind of thing, I'm going to take the HUD off the screen, I think. It's not really that necessary. And this is our boy, Jamlex. I'm going to make this smaller in case I ever have to use it again. And we're going to take a look at our boy, Jamlex, and talk about what can be done better. So again, we're looking for a player who wants to be aggressive and work on consistent, strong entry fragging. And that's something we want to zone in on. You know, I like a player who knows what they want, right? Your play style is, of course, unique to you. So, you know, your personality should probably shine through in your play style. If you like to take control of the round, you are not afraid to go to get information. You play bold CS. Focusing on entry fragging sounds like a great idea. So far, so good. We've got, well, kind of. We've got a kill go back and forth, which works out well, and now we've got the flashes and smoke lined up. Your first flash, obviously, or your first smoke already, one of your very few nades on this pistol round has been used. So you get out just in time for it to be coming up, which is awesome. Ideally, you get everything lined up well, and then you can kind of go ahead and execute with it. So right here, you die, Jamlex, and I just want to say, in this moment, you're giving your opponents way too many opportunities when you've got a flank coming in on Z. So a bit more awareness about what your team can do for you here would have influenced how you played a bit more. A little bit too frantic. Once you get to the side of the bomb site, you know, on the right side, I would have even tried to consider walking out and then knowing that someone is going to peek you from the back of the site, honing in on winning that duel. When I saw you kind of running out, it felt like you were just hoping someone would be somewhere, but weren't exactly planning for it when you totally could have. I think in the back of your mind, you knew that you were going to see a fight soon, but you were not preparing yourself for that. When you saw it, it felt like you were still surprised. So even if you're wrong about where your next fight is going to be, a better player is going to kill you when they're more prepared for the fight. So I would recommend actively trying to guess where you think your next fight is going to be and trusting those intuitions. And then every time you make a mistake or you're wrong, you can add that to your inventory and then move forward. But if you are constantly coming into rounds and only reacting, you are never going to learn how to make better reads. And your game sense, therefore, will never improve, right? If you constantly are testing yourself by throwing yourself out in the open and taking duels and hoping you hit the shots, that's all you'll ever get good at doing. But to improve in CS, which is not all about aim, you have to practice. Because you're only going to get your one shot to win your duel, and then you lose the round, and then you're dead, and then you start again next round, right? So try to practice thinking about where your next fight is going to be, taking that guess, making an educated assumption, focusing in on that, being okay with being wrong, and then adding it to the list of things that you remember the next time you enter into that situation. And that's why it takes so many hours to master. Eventually, you'll have an inventory of rounds that you remember, and you can go off your intuition. But it starts with making assumptions. So right here's a precarious spot where I know there's not much communication between you and your team. And if there is, it's not adequate. So here's a position where you've got pretty good control of the site, but you are in the most important spot here, okay? Because everyone else can hide behind something and play for themselves, but you're in front of ephemeral cover. The smoke is going to come up and you're going to have to duel. So if you're going to posture in the smoke this way, and your teammates are not causing threats anywhere else on the map, I'm eyes on the mini-map right now, then what they can do for you is flash, right? They can flash for you to come through the smoke as you think it's going to come up, or just come through it while it's still there and take your risk that way. But if you're not going to do this, your team needs to be making more progress across with you. So you put yourself in a tradable spot. So here we have you push through as a lurk with nobody else making any kind of, with nobody else trying to pull attention on any other part of the site. Okay? So the way you get away with this lurk is one of two ways. Number one, someone flashes you through and you know they're on the other side of the smoke. They know you're on the other side of the smoke, but now they're blind. So you're going to go ahead and take the round by force and win a duel, or hope the flash hits. If it doesn't, it's fine. It's still a good play because you at least planned it behind something. Instead, you kind of walk through thinking they're not going to see me. But this is not an assumption that you should make. There's no reason to do that. When you could walk through this smoke with no flash is when your teammates have made more forward progress. Okay, look kind of parallel on the mini-map with you and like Hell, for example. There's nobody who is farther forward on this site than you are. So the CTs don't have much else to do. This is like dropping a book in the library and expecting someone not to hear it, right? You have to, if there are books dropping every single aisle, then nobody's going to know which aisle was yours. And that's the ideal. That's the idea. So in terms of communication there, either play for yourself if you're not sure your teammates can help you, or get your teammates to play the same game as you to try to create chaos. Now the round is all quiet and whatever before the exec comes out, but I think what's important to remember is that you shouldn't just assume that people are going to forget about you once the exec already comes out. Everybody's out in the open. Suddenly it's a different mindset. Out here in T-Con, lurking around, walking, this makes sense. People might not expect you to be here or know exactly what angles you're going to be on. But once you're out in the site, you have to play the game a little bit more differently. All right, so here, I think this is something that's worth noting. This might be a smaller note, but you've got 14 HP. I think your teammate still has HP. But in this spot, you guys are thinking about saving. So I guess you both are very, very low. So the only problem with this is that with 40 seconds left, the CTs, if they're not scared of you and they're already pushing things, are going to corner you. And you don't want to die after time, right? So something that's very important is like the thought of maybe still trying to fight, or at least, let's say you try to fight up until the 15-second mark, just pretending, spamming through T-Con, taking one risk on Ivy, something like that, and nobody dies, perfect. You get it down to 15 seconds, then you've earned your save. But now we're in a position where 40 seconds up and you go dead silent on the map and the CTs are up. Now it gets very, very tricky for you because you're trying to save but not let them know, but you haven't given them a reason to believe that you might go for the exec, right? You've entered into this handshake agreement that you're going to go sit back and spawn and they're going to have to chase down exits. What you want is for them to think you might try for the round. All right. So now we've got something of an outside exec. I think that flash lands a little bit off. And I think you improve it after, actually. So here we're going to go through with basically a push. And you guys are making some progress here in a pretty decent way. Getting top trains is awesome. And at this point, right, all you have to do is worry about Ivy because your teammates are watching Z, and you have to trust that they're watching it. So one thing I noticed in this game between you and your friends is not being able to strike a balance between thinking about the next kill and thinking about what's in front of you. So I can tell that the communication on some of these rounds, when one player is spotted on the CT side and you guys are entering a site on T side, is that everybody focuses on that. And then what happens is someone will come in on the side on a rotate and shoot you in the side or catch one person off guard. But you didn't need 4 players to look down on Z in one situation. So here you see the multiple eyes there. You're in fact responsible for looking at someone else because you're staring at the back of your teammate's head on the bomb train, right? Your bomb train teammate is looking at Z. You can say, hold Z if you're really communicating about this. I'm watching Ivy. Then you can watch Ivy. You tell him what to do because he can't see you holding his angle. That's kind of the order of operations. And you actually left a window of timing here for the Ivy guy to kill you when you were watching Z. To use harsh language, mindlessly. You were kind of in your own zone, playing for yourself. Just kind of, you were playing in a mindset of like, my teammates are not going to make the right play. I'm going to make sure I watch everything. And then you split 50-50. And I'm not saying you're doing that because you're actively trying to be a bad teammate. This is something that you will just grow in the habit of as you become more of a team player. Like the number one thing that is the huge jump between the pug star and the team player is knowing when to trust their teammates. Like whenever I've played with new players, or like you always look at up and coming players who do well in pugs. The number one thing that I'll notice with somebody who it comes from a pug, they can completely destroy a round because they simply try to do too much by themselves. And when you have a team, the way to create a gestalt, if I'm using that word correctly, to create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, is to pretend you and another player are one person, right? So imagine if you and another player are one person, you could each watch one thing. But if you are not doing that, then you're each trying to watch both things and creating timing windows for your opponents. So that's why the team aspect, when heightened, will always beat the better individuals if played properly. That is like one kind of small example. So here's a better flash where you tried to come across and you have an opening and your teammates are kind of close here. So I'm packing this information, by the way. Your teammates are kind of close here, which is good. Now you chose not to smoke E-botch, you smoke sandwich on this. I think on a strat like this, you maybe want your ladder control, back six smoke. Don't smoke. Sorry, if you're not too familiar with callouts. 4 is this blue train on the left. 5 is this red train in the middle, and then 6 is the green train in the back. 4, 5, 6. Blue, red, green. That also works. And then bomb train there. So back 6 smoke or back green smoke smokes out Ivy. And then you've got your smokes down here on the left side. And then you can all kind of swing this way and try to fight the guy sandwich with a molly. Try to fight the guys on site by swinging like you just did. And the only thing that I would change with how you swung was making sure you're more closely connected in terms of spacing with your teammate. If their teammates were right beside you, there's a chance you win this duel and you have like red HP, but you don't die. Now your teammates still get the trade, which is awesome. Honestly, I see you guys actually have a lot of promise in the way that you're exploding together. It feels like your teammates are trusting the calls and stuff. I love to see that. I'm sure there is going to be some friction as people figure things out, but that's all part of growing. And now we're basically back into a very similar round. So if you're going to say, I'm swinging E-box this round, try to say, okay, call one as an IGL. One tool I recommend is never say somebody do this, somebody do that. Call names. At the beginning of the round, all 4 names besides yours. Or I'm going to do this. Lamone, can you come and swing E-box with me? Yarink, can you take IV control with KWE? Kui, throw your nades. Then we're going to execute here, whatever it is. Call names when you call strats. That will help people understand exactly what they're supposed to do. Otherwise, people will have the wrong grenades, and people will not be coordinated. It's a tiring job being an IGL, but I promise you that makes a world of difference. So right there, you don't let your recoil reset. And I have a small tip for you, okay? So this is something that I noticed a long time ago Dupree used to do that I thought was really fantastic. And that is, say you have really good first bullet accuracy, or say you don't. It doesn't matter. One really great technique that you can use, whether you like to spray tap or burst, is to, if you have you need to react to something. Like someone shows up on your screen, that's your immediate target. You didn't expect them to be there. You do kind of a wide flick. You don't have a high percentage chance of actually hitting that shot, but you might be close. So what Dupree used to do on these wide flicks is you would flick, shoot 1 bullet. Okay? If you're on them, you tag them severely. They slow down when you hit them. So you shoot 1 bullet, and then you flick again, or adjust if you're close enough, and just spray. And it's so much easier because the target's already slowed off 1 bullet, plus you've already done some damage. And then what we just saw right here is that you didn't... Sorry, I'm not spectating you now. But what we just saw here is that you committed to your spray and then you got locked up. You had to let your recoil reset, and you didn't have time, so you shot too early, and your spray was already messed up, and then you couldn't finish the kill. But what if you had flicked, shot one bullet on this train stopper guy, and then missed slightly, and then adjusted and gone for a spray? Then you would be in a position where you wouldn't have to let your recoil reset. You could have hit him with the first bullet, but even if you didn't, you weren't that far away from readjusting. So instead of spraying right away, this is something that you can try. So kind of like, right? It would be like tap, spray right after that. And I think that is a very, very smart thing that you can try to introduce to be a bit more consistent about finding your duels. And remember, at this level and at every level, people are going to miss. There are going to be some crazy sprays that go down. You never want to have to think that I was part of a 4-second duel and I could have taken my time. And instead you went through with a 30 bullet spray off of your initial flick and were off for the first 15 bullets and really wasted your time. So I noticed in this game, a lot of duels happen where a guy came down Ivy and tested you that way when you're holding back. And I think right now we've just got another kind of eco. One in the back. And we're just going to move forward into one of the more substantial rounds. All right, so we're holding back. Another thing that you guys need to do on your full execs is you've got to have someone, that flash you just throw, you've got to have someone throwing those flashes late. So as you can see, you guys are exiting T-Con right now, but you need as much support to get past this one choke point. Just get out of the choke point. The idea from the CT side is it's easier to do AoE damage, spray downs, zoning with nades that land in the choke point you're trying to come out of. After you get out, it becomes very T-sided, right? You see the Ts all have their hooks in all over the site. So for the CTs, they should be trying to punish you for coming out of T-Con. And for the Ts, you're trying to support yourself as much as possible at getting out of that choke point, because once you pass that point and they haven't punished you, you should be able to win. Just swarm the site, envelop it, take back 6 control, swing across E-box, kill the sandwich guy, really mess up the CT's aim. Because at first, in the beginning of the round, the CTs, they're all aiming in the same place, right down to this one choke point in T-Con. After you're out of that choke point, they have their cone of fire opens up to this much. This is when they have to start flicking. So that is what you're trying to do, basically, on all maps, not just train. So here you have a good understanding that this guy loves to run down Ivy, and another duel happens to come out that way. That was good rifle control. I think we had a spray, tap, and then burst. That was good. And we're throwing or sandwich smoke again. And this time, not fully committing. I don't know. I think okay. We've still got the bomb in here. That's a good spray. This flash will help you get out. And don't peek with a Molotov like that when you don't have to. Very dangerous. Try to always throw your grenades by banking or by throwing over things. Try not to peek with Molotovs out if someone could swing on you, especially in that situation where it's like an emergency spot. So right here, when you don't find a target, I notice you get very, very uncomfortable. If you can't, you're kind of like Reyna from Valorant, okay? You get your first kill, then you can chain it into your next kill, then your next kill, and then you're comfortable. But unlike with Reyna, the idea is that you can't go invincible when you get a kill. So what you should do when you don't find a kill is try to find a place where, what's your goal? You know your teammate's about to plant the bomb. You don't know where the CTs are. But right now, you're standing in a place that's open to Old Bomb. It's open to Z. Old Bomb is this back train here that's right in front of the screen. You're open to Z. You're open to T-Con. And you're open to ladder. Try to find a spot that limits the amount of places that players can come from. Make an assumption about where you think they're going to come from, and then get yourself into 2 or so angles. Hopefully one of your teammates gets shot instead of you, and then you're hidden, and then you can play the post plant. don't get in a situation where you're exposed to everything and just trying to react and constantly taking a number of risks. You're just introducing too many variables. So remember, objective-based CS at all times, right? What portion of the round is it? Is it the beginning of the round? Is the bomb attempt to get planted? Is it the post-plant? Is it a safe situation? Play CS based off the objectives, and that'll help you figure out where you want to be. So here's a good trade, and now this is where you want to kind of swing with your teammates. And yes, this is good. Now we're exposing ourselves to some angles. Okay, it's a little bit uncomfortable here, but you do get across. There's only two CTs left, and now you're a bit more calm. So let's see how you play this. This spot is fine. See how you're checking you're checking ladder without checking radar. See what your teammates are holding for you, and try to trust that they'll do that job well. And then focus on what positions you need to watch. Otherwise, you will get timinged, right? In reality, what you did was create a ton of windows for randomness. Don't give your opponents those chances. Timing is actually a very important and controllable aspect of CS. There are a lot of situations where timing can be unlucky, but simultaneously, there are a lot of situations where people create timings and then they get mad at themselves. And that happens at all levels. You notice good players magically get timinged less. That's something to actually try to think about controlling as opposed to be frustrated about. Alright, so we're trying to win this duel here. Here's a good time where you could go top trains. Top trains is a good idea, not something to do all the time. It's a huge amount of information though, right? Even if you die going top trains, you can tell your teammates where all the CTs are basically in one shot. And you can clear out all the angles that they're not in really, really, really easily. So depending on the situation, try to think about going to the top of train. Especially when you're doing like a fast strat outside, okay? If you do something fast outside, someone should be going to the top of the blue train and getting vision, because from the top of the blue train, you'll see the back of train stopper, you'll see the middle of the bomb, you'll see Z, you'll see Ivy. So even though that guy is now exposed to all those angles, if you've got 4 other players all doing their job and making progress across the site, etc., then that guy can either go unnoticed and get free frags, refrag for a teammate who's in a, very far from everyone else, or just get vision and tell your teammates what they don't need to watch. Lots of utility from top trains. So here's the approach on back 6. And I want to here for a second talk about the importance of this position right here. So this is back 6, right? And this is an objective position for the Tees to try to get control of. So typically when you're entering Jamlex, there are always exceptions based on smokes and based on different strategies, but typically from the fundamental perspective when you're entering, you want to limit the amount of angles that you have to look at, right? You don't try to jump out into crossfires. You try to enter sites in such ways that you both compromise the positions for the CT side, and you can take head-to-head kind of one-on-one duels that are like 50-50 or better. So one of the reasons you want to get out to Ivy is because, number one, if you come out the left side of the T-con, as we're looking at the mini-map, you only have to look slightly to the right in between sandwich or just straight down all the way to Ivy. So that limits your cone of fire, if I can call it that, to very low amount of angles, which is great for an entry fragger. Now, coming down to the back of Ivy can be dangerous because of oppers, that kind of thing. But say you have good flashes or a Molotov back 6 or a smoke there, getting control of this area shuts down so many of the positions that you're going to be worried about as a CT if you're holding the site. So let's say you get one person in the back here, back 6 really fast. Lucky they didn't play it. You go unnoticed, and you get down here on the execute. And your teammates are all crossing out E-box. Now, suddenly, if there's a CT who's sitting in the middle of the bomb site trying to fight the cross, you can shoot him in the side. If someone's sitting train stopper, which you died to once coming out from sandwich, you can shoot them in the side. If someone is back 5, you can shoot them in the back. And now, where can the CT stand? Nowhere. Once you get back 6 control, the only place that the CTs can stand in is on this side where we see the last CT right now, on this side of the bomb train. That's the last place that they can go into. This is also another reason why going to the top of the train is actually very useful. You can see all of these angles in the site, and the only place that's a complete blind spot is behind the bomb train. But once they're behind the bomb train, they're pretty much useless. It's not good cover. It can be wrapped from both sides. It can be Molotov. It can be naded. And now you've got that effect that the CTs are trying to put on you when they're nading into T-Con. You've got them in that effect. You can zone them all into one area, hit them with a lot of AoE damage, come through with sprays, make them feel uncomfortable. This is the choke point now that you've sandwiched them into. And now, look at the flank. You actually flank this guy even though he wraps around the back of the bomb. That's a very, very important example I want you to remember when you play this map. Also, it's typical. That's a nice shot. And you punch that Ivy push. That's really good. Okay, so far this is actually pretty good. Except your teammates end up dying. That's alright. You got multi-frag that just needed to trade there. Sometimes it's going to come down to that. But if there's a sandwich player, you should try to kill him. Now, typically a Molotov there until they stop wanting to play there is really, really important. The sandwich player is a player who is on the inside of any smoke exec that you're going to be throwing. So they're a player you would like to isolate if possible. And now, well, take a look at the CT side. So far, the demo has been really interesting. So I think we're going to maybe get a chance to talk about inner and how to play inner to the best possible level. So here, 1v5 situation. Oh, a good second kill. And they're peeking you because, of course, time is not exactly on your side. You get 3, which is great. And that's a really well-placed smoke. Super good. And here we're just down to the USP. You don't need to peek to throw that flash. Remember to think about why you're throwing nades, right? If you're trying to deny the rush, you don't need to risk getting spammed. If they were already through that smoke, all that would do is get you killed. If you could throw that flash and then peek, that would be more valuable, and you could do it from cover. You can always bank your flash. So try to be very cognizant of why you're throwing your nades and like what the intended effect is the next time. And since these are your CT grenades, right, you're going to be throwing them a lot. Well, this is a super solid round. Nothing more to say about this one. They go and save. Bring it back. Okay. You throw this flash preemptively. Don't do this. So this is another situation where you could get punished. They'll hear you throw your flash. They hear you running. What you want to do, smoke, flash, nade up the ramp, and then start walking up. Okay? Unless you're going to go art style, push through, all that stuff. But that's a don't try this at home type of moment. Instead, you could get punished for this. Don't throw that Molotov so deep. Okay? Here's another thing. So first of all, what's that flash do for you? Throw it that far back when they can beat your timings. Try to learn the timings a little bit better so you know if it's a rush, where do my nades need to be? Right here, you've already learned it for inner. But for anywhere else, just try to remember that. And then, so you want to preemptively throw your flash in the same way you throw your smoke up the ramp when you're walking up. And then you can throw your HE right after your flash. And then if they're coming through, they'll get hit by the HE. And then you walk up and you listen. And if you want to walk up to the smoke and fight, you can. And then when you're on the ramp, don't throw your Molotov in too deep to the top of the ramp. It doesn't need to hit them. It needs to stop them from coming inner, and it needs to be in a place where if they do come inner, you can punish them in the Molotov. So you're going to throw the molly down. If you think they're coming down the ramp, you're throwing it right at the bottom of the ramp because it needs time to spread. It needs to make sure that it's not coming in too early so they can just jump past it, and you need to be in a position to be able to watch it. And you don't want to be watching it at the top of the ramp because now you're exposed to the whole ramp. You want to watch it from the site on an angle where it's a bit safer. So here you're trying to discourage them. And also the rotation in the site, try to get in between these 2 trains we see on the mini-map. Fall back into those 2 trains in the mini-map. And now here committing very hard, pulling down too hard with your Galil. You can see it from the crosshair, so just keep that in mind. And you don't need to jump up on the ramp to see the ramp itself. If you're just on the side, like, yeah, it can be an off angle, which is good, but you want to think about being able to escape if you need to, and how much value you actually create by committing really hard by standing out in the open. So again, this demo is very info heavy, but there's a lot of important stuff here. All right, so this is much better. You throw the smoke and you walk up. So here you could have assisted yourself with a flash. And listen, don't be afraid to throw the same nades every round, because then if you want to do different plays with it, they don't know which play you're doing. They keep saying smoke, flash, nade. Sometimes you push, sometimes you don't. All right, we'll come through. Got to be very careful around these angles. And holy shit, yeah, that was a demo. Did not do you any favors there. You got to expect heavily to see some people around these corners, okay? When you're coming around them, be a little bit more careful. Nice. I like how you line up a lot of your grenades, and I could tell where you're coming from when you throw some of the nades. I want to, and I always take this approach to focus on the fundamentals more than the specific executions and stuff. Again, the nade lineups, the executions. There's a million YouTubers out there that you can get those from, but I think what's more important is finding out why you want certain nades where and what the ideas are behind that. In order to learn and get better, I want to be able to kind of create tools for you to learn, not hand you the execs that are going to guarantee you around here and there without you learning, why you want those nades down. But yes, it is a pretty wonderful world where you can, there's so many tools now, so much YouTube content out there that you can basically find a strat. All the strats will work. You can just find your favorite one. All right, so this is good. See, you're thinking about where the Molotov's landing, which is awesome. And now they don't actually fight you there. It's good to try to drop. You actually had a teammate watching upper, but their smoke down made it a little bit more difficult. Overall, a nice hold. So that, where you threw that incendiary, was mindful of where they're trying to go, right? Same thing when you're throwing the incendiary up the ramp. Be in that same mindset. And I guarantee you that guy missed bullets because you threw an incendiary at him. Okay? Because you're sitting in an incendiary, he felt pressure that he had to win the duel fast and get out. I guarantee you that has an effect on whether or not you will win the duel, even if that incendiary did no damage. Making players uncomfortable will make good players into bad players. So this is really important. This is bad. No peeking when you're throwing your flash. Try to bank. Don't peek while you're in animation. Don't peek after when you're in animation. And try to think about what your flash is doing. You had to turn from your own flash, Jamlex. Bad. If you tucked in Z, banked the flash off the side of the 5 train, and it just had one small bounce, you could peek after the flash, rotate into a better spot. You didn't have to charge anyone down. You probably didn't have to throw the flash at all in that position. It's good that you are thinking about utility, so that's good. But remember, sun's out, guns out. Okay, so this is a really good play for information here. And yeah, I don't know how scared you are about losing this round. At this point, after you've made your presence node, I would just leave Ivy basically, not even worry about fighting it. Assume they're not going to come back and take control of it at this level, and even at like a medium to high level. People are going to get too scared if they see someone Ivy in that situation. So just leave. Now you've left the seed in their mind that there's someone at Ivy, and go be somewhere else. And then it's like you're multiplying your presence. Okay, you have support upper, but they've thrown this smoke a few times upper, so you've got to be concerned a little bit. This is an okay spot. It's good that you got here, but it's a little bit dangerous, of course, hard to fall back from. They've done some explodes upper. I would be focused as the inner player who plays this close up, to be playing a lot more carefully. A lot more carefully. It might not be fun for you. I think if you have a teammate who wants to play inner more than you do, or you like inner, but you can either try to push a little bit more, but the way you're playing in the site is too irresponsible. Good teams will punish you for flying around all the time. You look at some of the better inner players are pretty kind of quiet personalities, get right, Flusha, like people. There are players like Stewie and stuff like that, but even Stewie, he's, I feel like, more explosive than he is aggressive these days, where he has it in him, but he likes to, when he plays on the site, it's really about playing in and around the bomb train, staying mostly on the ground, once in a while playing up on a train if you have support to watch your upper. But a lot of the time, you're not going to have a teammate to help you, and even right now, you're not super well connected with your teammate based on the way that you're watching these positions. You see how you've got extra support here, but you're watching both upper and lower. That's not a good sign. That means that your teammate shouldn't even be here. You're really opening yourself up too much. So at this point, your position becomes very precarious. It's not very safe to stand in. And I don't know if they're going to clear you, but now they're coming out at 2 choke points. Here's where you go back and you play for yourself a little bit more. But everyone's still winning duel, so there's a lot of good stuff to talk about here. Try to dry duel. Here I'd be very careful about throwing that incendiary too deep again. It's good that you try to empty your kit. I really do appreciate that. Where some people might not think about that. And now here you can have someone come in and watch your lower ramp. But you tell them what you're watching, and they tell you what they're watching. One way or the other. Someone take control, right? Don't ask, what do you want to watch? Say, I'm watching this, and then your other teammate can figure it out. Cut the communication down, keep it simple. And everyone in these spots should be taking some leadership to make things as easy as possible. You know, competitive game on the timer, so it's really important to try to not have hard feelings, just basically be like, either, can you watch this for me, or I'm watching this, and then your teammate figures it out. That's the only way to keep things moving along quickly. Nice shot. Crouch peek into the dig. And let's see, do we pull the eco off is the question. You've got a teammate still here back there. No. Okay. There's already so much to talk about, so I don't know if this is one, but it's coming close. Okay. So we got lower sight potentially coming. And now you get shot in the feet right here if there was someone at the top of the ramp, so be careful about that. Staying close up to the choke point is great. Pressing up for information is great. And you guys win the round. Fantastic demo. Fantastic demo. Okay, so let's talk about a few things. Oh wait. I've not been playing, I've been watching too many demos. I haven't even played Counter-Strike in like 2 months. Just casting and watching demos every single day. Okay, so I think I have a practice config. MP ignore round win conditions. Nice. And bind it in no clip. Okay. I don't know if this is your crosshair, but we're just going to keep it. So, okay, so let's start with the T side quickly. Okay, typically, this is what I would call a first tier execute, okay? You throw sandwich smoke and E-box smoke, okay? And this can be thrown at the beginning of the round on default if you don't want to do something fast. And the idea is that if this is smoked and this is smoked, then the only way that the CTs can get vision is on this side, and you're going to be opping down here, let's just say. So these two smokes force the CTs to respond. They're going to be throwing stuff. They're going to be wasting all their utility. They're going to be trying to nade Olaf, everything. And then you bait out so much utility with these first two smokes because the CTs don't have information. You're flashing once over, so this guy doesn't want to cross. Okay. And then you're basically denying space, making the CTs very uncomfortable and taking a lot of utility out. Now, sometimes you just throw those two smokes just to bait grenades. Sometimes you throw those smokes out and then you exec with them. All right. So that way, every round you throw them, they have to throw nades in response. Conditioning. So let's just explain quickly the importance of back six control. Let's say you have a strat design. You've got a Molotov down here, some supporting flashes, and then you get to this position. So if you get up here quietly, here's where you start walking, because now you have the most important spot of the round, and you can shoot all these players in all these positions. Look at all of the spots that the CTs can no longer stand in, that they were using to watch all of your spots that you were coming out from T-Con control, right? Every one of these spots is no longer possible if you have one T here, right? Remember that, okay? That's so important. You can even fight into heaven. And then if you know that if your teammates are out here and there are these two smokes down, as you're swinging, you might have a mid-sight Molotov and like a Z Molotov or whatever, and you have this lined up properly, then you can swing, and now what do you have left? You have no one can stand sandwich, or no one can stand train stopper, no one can stand back five, and they all have to be over here. So now you're just swinging. This is when the swing becomes very powerful. Now, getting down there is something you're going to be able to do at your level over and over again. So if you play train, I want you to focus on this. Getting back control there. If they op it, I want you to op them back. If they stand there, I want you to molly them. Punish them for being there, and then take it over when they stop playing it. And then when you swing together on E-Box. The first guy will die, but just have to be selfless. Unless he has like insane aim, but you know, the first guy's just going to die sometimes. That's just the nature of it. And then everybody else is going to come across and try to get to fighting this position in the back of the site here. The rotators are going to come through late here. They're going to come through early here, and they're going to come through even later here unless there's already someone back there. With ladder control, you can smoke back six, and I don't think I remember any of these nades, but let's see. Something like this that goes a bit deeper, and you get this smoke out, and then you can take your hell control that way. You can come down ladder this way, which I'm not sure how much you guys used it or not, but the way you're doing is fine, where you would just molly it when you're out. That's also totally fine. You might be a little bit nervous that someone might be in there, but overall it speeds the strat up a lot to not have ladder, and I'm totally fine with fast strats. I really like fast strats myself. I'm a very, very like kind of impatient player myself, and so yeah, the way that you play makes a lot of sense to me. I like to lead by example and show that I'm willing to die, and you know, there's the reward of if you get 2 entries, you win the round. So I like all those things. So I think it's a really interesting and fun role. Okay, so that's kind of explaining outside very briefly here. Of course, the more choke points you open up, the more spots get removed from the CT side. That's the idea behind splitting. And that's what you want to be thinking about. It's the same thing with IV control, right? If you get to the top of IV, if you do something slower, you get here. What are the spots that the CTs can no longer stand in? Same idea. In fact, the idea is even if you put pressure here, let's say you throw that smoke down and you're just standing here. The CTs know you're here and you don't peek. Let's say you leave. The CTs can't stand out in the open. I mean, they can, but they have to watch IV now. So that's the value of winning map control, even if you don't use it. So remember that, especially on train. This is one of the harder maps. If you can figure that out, you'll win. So, God, I hope this is right. That one goes a bit far. I have a molly that lands here. So anybody who's standing on top of the train who wants to stand here is in a very dangerous spot. And then your flash inside was fine. When you're holding on your CT side, okay? So here are your protocols. You're trying to smoke the ramp, and then you got a flash going, and then you throw a nade up. That the smoke should go deeper. So you obviously, I saw you throwing it. You know how to throw it. You're throwing it as late as possible, so it goes to the top of the ramp. And then when the smoke dissipates, basically you're in a position where you can either lurk around it. You got the nade to punish, and you can kind of sit here. If no one's coming inner, you can lurk around the smoke and be very careful for people holding. Look over top of the smoke, everything like that. Come into these angles and be very careful. Try to stand back from the angles as opposed to doing this like you were doing. Okay, this is get you killed, because on their screen they're going to see your body before you peek. And then the same thing here when you're coming across angles, chop them up nicely, okay? And then you can, you know, flank ladder or whatever it is if there's no one there. When you're holding down here, you hear the rush coming, okay? So you smoked up the ramp, and then you're hearing the rush coming. You've thrown your one nade or whatever. Okay, you can sit on the ramp to see if they push like this with your incendiary out. You can fall back this way, and then you can go whatever onto the train. Watch this, or you can stand literally right here if you don't think they're gonna go upper while your molly's up. But you don't want to throw your molly here, okay, and stand here, because what if they jump through? They're not in a molly anymore. You have to go here, and if you're here, they can just shoot you on the ramp full force. You want to be in this position, so you want your molly to be right here as well, and it lets your molly spread as well, which will do more and more damage. Like just like you threw the molly out here because you saw them running. That's how I want you to think when they're coming down the ramp as well. Okay, the idea is punish them early round for trying to rush B, and then later into the round, this is kind of your primary safe zone. In between the trains, you're not quite as exposed. If you like this angle, great. When you fight here, great. You can wait for a team flash. When your Z rotator comes in, they can watch upper for you. They'll just call it. I'm watching upper for you. You can watch lower ramp, and you can stay here crack spotting. You don't need to commit like this because now it takes time for you to leave. And if you have like if you're sitting in the middle of the site, this is a good spot. Let's say the exec comes, you can throw your molly down this way, and then you can potentially, you know, fight up here from a different angle, which because you have the molly down, it might not be as apparent that you'd peek from this part and try to get some damage in. But the key for inner holds, of course, just got to be really quick on the first kill. It's sometimes a very hard fight to win. You've got to like your angles, but it can be pretty easy to entry from the T perspective. So on anti-ecos, it's good to play back and try to get nades off that land on the site. These are actually way harder than they look to land them properly. So try to have your lineup and practice it to deny the plant. And if you go down 4v5 and lose a rifle, that's when you lose the ecos. So that's why sometimes it's better to let the plant go down and play back with nades. At your level, you know, you're a fragger, it's fine. You can play on the site and try to trade out, everything like that. But that's something that you should think about for the anti-ecos. And then finally, I think when we're talking about you did this, okay, and then you had to turn from your own flash and you got shot, and the flash just is so telegraphable. So what instead I would have done is go for something like this. You get a tiny bounce, it pops right here, and you could peek off of that. And I wouldn't be charging off of this either. You know, I'd be trying to throw this flash, and then boom, I know I'm not getting it off, and now suddenly I'm moving off into a better position within the site. Maybe there's a smoke down here, I want to stand here and punish, whatever. Or I'm just trying to cross back to go this way and then fight this way. But running through the middle of the site on CT side like this is just as dangerous as running through the middle of the site on T side. You never want to turn from your own flashes if you don't need to, and you never want to get caught holding W. Only A and D. Right? This is when you're the strongest. This is when you're the weakest, because you have to use one finger to stop to go back. A and D, you're using two fingers. Strafing is much easier, right? And counter strafing is how you hit your first bullet accuracy. Okay, Jamlex, a lot of stuff there. That one was jam-packed. That might be the most jam-packed demo review that we've ever done. I really enjoyed doing that. I'm so sorry about the delay. I hope that was helpful. It answered your questions. And I really appreciate your approach to the game. I think it shows that you watch pro games, that you watch some YouTubers that make helpful content. And I can definitely see, I think you're the only person who can stop you from ranking up is yourself. So you put in the time, I think you can do a lot, any rank in any amount of time. I think don't be discouraged if you don't rank up super fast. It's a team game. You know, it's a team game, and if you want to stick with your friends, which is awesome, you all grow together. Everyone's gonna improve at different levels. Some days you're gonna have bad days. Some days you're not gonna have good days. Some days you might feel like you plateaued, your aim's off. That's just life. Some weeks you're gonna be flying. You're just feel like you're getting exponentially better, like you said, and that'll continue. But that's not gonna be always for you. It's not gonna be always for everybody. So just be patient, and keep doing what you're doing. Stay on the same page. Play fast. You guys are good doing it. At your rank, you can play explosive, really, and just keep that one gear the entire time. Go for it. Have fun with it. And yeah, I'm glad you like CS. And let me know if you have any other follow-up questions. Appreciate you, Jamlex. And take care, everybody.